Order the Board of Works meeting for December 21st. Roll call. Here.
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 Are there any conflict of interest statements?
No.
Approval of the minutes of the meeting of December 7th and December 14th.
I motion to approve the minutes for December 7th and December 14th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. Under correspondence, item 5A, we have proposal openings for Market Greenway Shared Use Path, DES number 133-82659. We received 7 of them. The first one is from Bowling Latch and Associates, 333 Pierce Road, Itasca, Illinois. Oh, these are engineering service proposals, so they don't have a dollar amount. That'll be negotiated. So maybe we just read the names off instead of opening them all. The next one is from First Group Consulting Engineers, 5925 Lakeside Boulevard, Indianapolis, Indiana. And these are all for construction inspection on the Marquette Greenway. The next one is from HWC Engineering, 135 North Pennsylvania Street, Suite 2, Indianapolis, Indiana. Next one is from DLZ, 900 Ridge Road, Suite L, Munster, Indiana. The next one is from ESI Consultants of Indiana Limited at 1280 West 97th Lane, Suite 100, Crown Point, Indiana. Chorba Group, 5507 North Cumberland Avenue, Suite 402, Chicago, Illinois.
Who was that one?
Huh?
Who was that last one?
Chorba. Let me spell it for you. C-I-O-R-B-A. I think I pronounced it right.
Ciorba.
Oh. Next is Nice Engineering Incorporated, 2421 173rd Street, Hammond, Indiana. I think that's all of them. That's all 7. Do I have a motion to refer these to the engineering department for tabulation and recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. Item B is request for advertising dates of December 28th and January 4th, 2018, with a bid opening date of January 18th for installation of decorative street lighting on Condit from State Line to Holman, Indiana, from Calumet to Maywood, Truman from Calumet to Maywood, Walnut from Roosevelt to Michigan, White Oak from Roosevelt to Michigan, Hickory from Chicago Street to Hoffman Street, Elm Avenue from Chicago Street to Hoffman, and Columbia Avenue from 143rd to Goslin. Do I have a motion to set those advertising dates?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Item C, amendment number 4 received from American Structure Point for reconstruction and widening of Chicago Street between Brainerd Avenue and White Oak Avenue, DES number 1297017, 1500221, and 1500724 in the amount of $93,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those against, motion passes. Item D, we have change order number 5 received from American Structure Point for advanced clearing in the amount of $39,033.82. This is for asbestos removal, I think, and some retaining wall removal, and some other miscellaneous items. Do I have a motion approving that change order?
I don't know about this one, and he didn't ask me where it's coming from.
Well, this would be for, it's 39,000, which would probably be 80-20 split. So our share would be, nobody's here from engineering, right? You want to defer action on it?
Ask him.
Oh, here he, Dean?
Sorry, I'm late.
Is this, the Chicago Street change order number 5? It's 39,000. Is that, gonna be 80% federal?
It's already been covered. American Structure Point's our engineer, and they've got money set aside for the earmark on the 80.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 We move down to item E. Correspondence received from First District Councilman Mark Kalwinski requesting $6,250 of gaming funds to be allocated for the collection and evaluation of pavement borings and pavement design for the 2018 Community Crossing Project on Holman Avenue from Hune north to 100 feet north of 141st Street.
Dean, is he allocating these funds from his 2017 dollars or his 2018? 18? Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. Item F, agreement with ATC Group Services for environmental testing on Holman Avenue between Hune and 141st Street at a cost of $6,250. This is the same thing.
Yes, sir.
So it's not really environmental testing, it's soil borings.
Yes, sir. Soil borings and pavement design.
Right.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those against, motion passes. Item G, application for excess loss reinsurance with American National Life Insurance Company of Texas. That's our umbrella coverage.
Okay, yeah, we just did this one. Okay. Yeah. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. Item H, hearing on property located at 1723 Summer Street.
Okay, I'm at a bit of a loss, so I would just ask that perhaps we move this to the end of the agenda. This is a matter that was originally set for a demolition hearing on November the 9th. This is a property at 1723 Summer. Mr. Andy Young, the owner of the property is actually owned by a company, HRP LLC, was represented by counsel Renee Babcock. On Wednesday, I emailed her 5 or 6 emails with exhibits for today, and then yesterday I left a voicemail. So they may be stuck in traffic, but there's absolutely no way that they don't know that there's a hearing set for today. So I would just ask you to please pass this to the end of the meeting.
Okay. Item I, hearing on property located at 226 to 28 Carroll Street.
Oh, owner Juan Reyes, 22628 Carroll Street.
When we inspected the property, it was discovered that it contained 3 units. The second floor had already been converted to one single unit. The first floor, however, still had a front and rear. So after performing the research for the property, it was determined that there were never any permits pulled to convert this 2-flat building into 3 apartments or 4. The owner is cooperating with the removal. He's already hired contractors to start the process and convert the property back to a 2-flat, which it was built Again, there's no permits pulled to separate the first floor, a lack of fire separation assembly, as well as zoning requirements to go from a 1 to 2 family dwelling to a commercial 3 unit. However, like I stated, the owner is cooperating and making steps to comply with the city's requests. I just ask that the board affirm the findings and orders, that the building be converted back to and remain a 2 unit.
Do you have anything you'd like to add, sir?
No, everything's, yeah.
We need a status on this one as well?
The board can just affirm that's fine. The contractors have already pulled permits and, calling for their inspection, so it's going to be verified that the work is completed to code requirements.
Make a motion to affirm the order.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item J, notice of violation hearing on property located at 4406 Pine.
This property was inspected and found to contain 2 units as well, a front and rear. This property is built as a single-family home, and based upon the research reform, there was never any permits pulled to convert the property to a 2 unit. There was no plumbing permits to account for the water lines, waste lines, drain lines, or fixtures to service a front unit at this property. Also, the property only has 1 electric service currently installed, and again, the fire separation is also an issue. Mr. Cruz currently has the property vacant. It's been vacant for some time now. He is in the process of trying to find someone to purchase the property who can perform the work. He has complied with our request to address some ordinance violations around the exterior of the property. However, at this time, he's expressed he'd be unable to perform or have performed the conversion on the property to get it back to a single-family home. And therefore, we're requesting that the board affirm the removal of the first floor front apartment so that whoever ends up purchasing the property will be notified that it can be a single-family home and a single-family home only. So just ask the board affirm the removal of the first floor front apartment based on our findings.
Yeah, I brought it like that.
Okay.
Nobody, I had an inspection and nobody told me it was a violation or nothing.
As explained, Mr. Cruz, we're not accusing him by any means of creating this space. As a lot of these situations occur, the majority of the time, the individuals that purchase them, it's in the same exact condition. However, with him being the owner, he's the only one we can work with to rectify the situation. And I'm more than willing to work with Mr. Cruz as far as finding a purchaser and then ensuring they're aware of what's needs to be done to bring the property into compliance so that everybody's on the same page.
I'll make a motion to affirm the order.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those against? Motion passes.
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Janet Venez. Item K, agreement to rehabilitate property located at 1524 Summer Street.
All right, this is a property that was on the demolition list. They have entered into a written rehabilitation agreement. I would ask the board to please approve it.
Motion to approve the rehab agreement?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. Item L, correspondence received from Mr. Gary Gleason, Director of Public Works, recommending installation of no parking and resident parking only signs on the 4800 block of Walnut Avenue and the 1500 block of Hoffman Street.
All right.
No, this came up last week.
Motion to approve Mr. Gleason's request.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. Item M, correspondence received from Mr. Mike Vanes, Maintenance Supervisor, requesting permission to dispose of light bulbs containing mercury which have been replaced with LED bulbs at Everlight's lamp.
Because of the environmental nature of the disposal, we do have to have a paper trail indicating that we didn't just throw them to Little Cal.
Motion to approve?
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. Item N, sales contract with Fire Service Incorporated for a 2017 E1 Metro 100 Quint demonstrator model.
This is a contract for interlocal agreement and contract to purchase a new fire truck for the fire department. I have signed the contract and will ask the board to ratify that action today.
I'll concur. Item O, bond received from Verizon Communications Incorporated by its subsidiary Metro? Oh, MCI Metro. Access Transmission Services Corporation, replacing the bond received from Wide Open West due to change in ownership. So does this totally get Wide Open West out of it, or is this a sale of the whole company, Chris? Or just the backbone, the fiber optics backbone?
They're just swapping the bond. It's just the
Okay.
bond, the previous being replaced by this bond.
Yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion approving this bond transfer?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. Item P, correspondence received from Crawford Broadcasting Company requesting a no parking sign be placed in front of the business at 6336 Calumet Avenue due to people parking in the right traffic lane.
I'll make a motion to refer to Gary Gleason for review and recommendation.
Second.
Yeah, we probably should refer this to NDOT too, because it is a state highway.
And NDOT.
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion passes. Item Q, correspondence received from Hammond Common Council President Janet Vanez requesting Corporation Council review a letter from Councilman Torres as to the legality of the request for tree removal.
I put this on the agenda for the Board of Works because I don't know by just reading the description if those are city trees or if those are private property trees. I need somebody to look at the big map.
Yeah, typically, we send somebody out from engineering, probably Jonathan Parker would go determine to make sure it's on public property and not on private property.
There was also discussion at the council meeting, though, on Monday as to whether or not we had the authority to cut down trees that were on private property.
We can,
So I
we
think
do
that's
have
a part of that.
we do have an ordinance about nuisance trees. I mean, not just because we don't like the tree because it drops mulberries or something, but if there's a tree that is dangerous, we can cite them through the city court, get a cut and clean order, then we cut the tree, and then we lien the property for the cost of for the tree removal. However, if these are city trees, we don't have to do any of that. I just can't tell from that letter where these trees specifically are located.
So we need action on this?
I just need to refer to engineering to look at the big map.
Okay. Motion to refer to engineering.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any matters from other board members? Are there any matters from other department heads or their representatives?
We'll come back then, but he's got.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll wait till the last minute with that.
I have a request for an extension on a rehab agreement at 505 Highland. The work is mostly done. They have some final things to do. Asking for a 90-day extension. Andrea Ortiz is present, has signed the rehab agreement. If I could get the board to sign off on this. We've had inspections, everything has passed. This one just needs to get to the final.
There's progress.
You need 90 days? 90?
Okay. Make a motion to extend the rehab agreement for 90 days.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion passes. Any other matters from other department heads or their representatives? Any new business? Any old business? We have item AA, correspondence received from Sergeant Tracy Loranek regarding the request for no parking from 4 to 6 p.m. at 6040 Homan Avenue. says no parking.
6040 Holman Avenue, no parking 4 to 6 PM.
Right now, it's no parking ever. And north of there, it is posted no parking from 4 to 6, north of Highland Street. So, because when that roadway was built, there was an agreement with NERC that to not have to widen it for the full capacity, that they would limit parking during the rush hour northbound and the rush hour southbound. So this would work,
Okay.
and this is probably actually covered by the ordinance, but not that far south.
So they want to be able to park there for those 2 hours?
No, other than those 2 hours.
Other than that.
Oh, other
Except for
than-
those 2 hours, it's,
Oh, I
see.
it's,
Okay.
it's no parking. And it's signed north of there like that. A lot of those signs need to be replaced or get more out. They're 20
What do we
years
need to
old.
do?
Huh?
What do we need to do here?
I think we should recommend that, she's what, she's the traffic,
Traffic Division Sergeant.
You want to put a time limit on it?
that is the time limit.
No, I mean 30 days,
Oh, 90-day trial?
30-day trial, see if it's
Yeah,
going to work?
let's do that.
Okay.
Make sure there's not an issue.
Make a motion to recommend a 90-day trial period for no parking signs from 4 to 6 PM at the 6040 Holman Avenue.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those against? Motion passes. Okay, Chris, what do you want to do with 1723 Summer?
They're here.
Okay.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure before we start proceeding that everybody's ready to proceed. I'll take that as yes. All right. 1723 is a property that we're having a hearing today under the Unsafe Building Act. This is a matter that was noticed up from November the 9th, 2017, and continued today by request of the property owner. The city is ready to proceed. The city would like to call its first witness, being Kelly Karen. Please testify at the microphone. All right, Kelly, would you please state your full name?
Kelly Kearney,
And where do you work?
City of Hammond,
And what do you do there?
I'm the Chief of Inspections.
In your duties as Chief of Inspections, you have an opportunity to come in contact with the property located at 1723 Summer Street.
I did.
Now, I attempted to reach opposing counsel by email and phone yesterday, so I don't know if she's marking her exhibits with letters or numbers, so I did not yet mark mine. Are you using numbers or letters? Letters, okay, so these will be numbers. I've not pre-marked them because I was waiting for some indication of how to mark them. All right, there we go. I'm going to mark that as 1.
Okay.
When did you first come in contact with this property?
Been in contact with this property for quite some time. In November, it was added to the demolition list.
Correct. So the issues with this property are from prior to November of this year, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did the city of Hammond actually have an action in demolition against this property back in 2011?
Yes, it did.
And then the demolition order expired?
That's correct.
Prior to 2011, do you know who the property was owned by?
Not offhand, no.
Okay. Did you do a search of any city or county records in order to determine the owner of the property?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And did you do a search of the title?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to identify from any records that are contained in the title who is the owner of the property? This is going to be Cities 2.
HRP LLC.
And did you able to determine how to contact an owner for HRP LLC using state of Indiana records?
Yes, we did.
And who did you determine was the owner of HRP LLC?
Andy Young.
And this is from the Indiana Secretary of State Records, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, this action with Andy Young started in 2011, but it's continued until the present. Did you take any photographs of the property back in 2013?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to mark the photographs in city form. I'm going to show you these photographs. These photographs were previously tendered to council on Wednesday. And I didn't receive any contact if there was any objection. But I will let her look at them again now. So these pictures clearly and accurately represent the way the property at 1723 Summer looked in 2013.
Yes.
Now moving closer to the present time, those are back in 2013.
Correct.
I'll give you some more photographs. These photographs are dated March of 2017. I'm going to make these cities five. These photographs have also previously been sent to council by email on Wednesday. Do these photographs truly and accurately represent the condition of the property in March of 2017?
It does.
Now, on the front page of the photographs, there's an inspection sheet. Could you please explain what this inspection sheet means?
This sheet describes the condition of the property and the reasons why it's going on the demolition list.
So when it says the reasons, it says, for example, roof 96.024. Is that a Hammond Municipal Code?
Yes.
And are you alleging that there's a violation of Hammond Municipal Code 96.024?
I am.
And there's also gutters, exterior walls, stairs, bricks and stone, doors, hardware, windows, improper fitting, electrical, driveway. Those are all violations of the Hammond Municipal Code.
Yes, they are.
It also, when you get to the third page, weeds, of course, it also mentions an unsafe building law, which has been adopted by the city of Hammond through ordinance, and is found now in section 150 of the Hammond Municipal Code. Is it impaired structural condition making it unsafe to person or property?
It is.
And is it vacant?
It is.
Now, down below it says no records at the water department. What does that mean?
The water department there's no service, they have no owner, they have no records of water being provided to this building.
So no water has been at this property for as long as we've had automated records?
Correct.
Do we know how long that would be, approximately?
For us, it's 2004 for the water department. I'm sure it goes further back.
Okay. So there's been no running water at this property for at least 13 years?
Correct.
Now, in November of this year, something started to happen at the property, and I'm going to show you some new pictures. I'm at 6 now. These have been previously tendered to opposing counsel. I want you to take a look at 6.
Okay.
I will provide another copy. 2017. What started to happen to this property on November 6, 2017?
For some unknown reason, the stairs were demolished and removed.
Now, this action, was this done by a permit?
No.
Did anybody contact the building department?
No.
Did anybody make repairs to any other part of the structure, just the strange removal of stairs without a permit?
That's correct.
So what did the city do in response to that?
Rich Castro, the inspector for the 2nd District, put up a stop work order on November 6th.
Did anybody contact you regarding the stop work order?
No.
Has any work been done with permits at this property since the stop work order?
No.
Now, you had testified previously, this is going to be City 7, that we have identified the owner of the property as HRP LLC,
Correct.
with its registered agent being Andy Young.
Yes.
Was Andy Young served with notice of the action the city is bringing under the Unsafe Building Act?
Yes, he was.
And how was that service accomplished?
Certified mail,
And?
signed by Mr. Young.
No, what other means does the city use to provide notice that you can see from the photograph?
The notice on the building is demolition property.
Okay. So in addition to the property being noticed, the property owner being notified by certified mail return receipt requested, which has been signed and returned to the city, we also posted a copy of the order to repair or demolish on the property.
That's correct.
Now, you have provided me some photographs which were taken this morning. These have not been tendered to council because they were taken this morning. And these are dated 12/21. These are going to be City of Hammond 8. Council has not yet seen these because they were just taken this morning. Do those photographs truly and accurately represent the condition of the property today?
Yes, they do.
Now, looking at the photographs, these are taken today, what violations of the Hammond Municipal Code, building code, do you see on those from your experiences in Chief of Inspection?
These same notices that were marked on the inspection sheet to create the demo file to
Okay,
begin with.
such as?
Roof, windows, vacant, disrepair, general, and safe in every aspect.
Okay. I'm going to hand him what is marked as Cities 9. This is a copy of the Unsafe Building Act. Are you familiar with the Indiana Unsafe Building Act?
Yes, I am.
What is the definition of an unsafe property? Is it a building that is in impaired structural condition that makes it unsafe?
Yes.
Is 1723 Summer in an impaired structural condition that makes it unsafe?
Yes.
Is it a fire hazard?
Yes.
Is it a hazard to public health?
Yes.
Is it a public nuisance?
Yes.
Is it dangerous to a person or property because of a violation of a statute or ordinance?
Yes.
Is it vacant?
Yes.
Is there anything further you wish to say about 1723 Summer?
I believe if the board was to see the pictures, and when they do see the pictures, they'll absolutely understand why this property is on the demolition list again. And while nothing is being done at all, other than the stairs for whatever reason being removed, no contact, no permits, no effort whatsoever to rectify the situation.
Okay.
Again, we're here because this is a nuisance and an unsafe situation that has to be dealt with.
Does the removal of the stairs make this property safe?
Quite the opposite.
Does the removal of the stairs make this property not a fire hazard?
No.
Has this property demanded more city services than other properties?
Yes.
Have there ever been any issues with environmental or contamination or interference with neighboring properties with this building?
Yes.
And could you elaborate on those?
This is a building that's part of several parcels, several buildings that have all been in disrepair. We've had problems with this, homeless people taking shelter in this property, causing more services, not just police, but also fire personnel.
Has the owner of this property ever contacted you to say that they wish to make repairs and bring this property into a compliant zoning approved building?
No.
Has the owner of this property, in the entire time that you've been with the City of Hammond, made any repairs to this property apart from the removal of the stairs without a permit?
No.
Is there anything further you wish to say about this property?
No.
All right, if there is no objection, I'm going to hand what I've marked previously tendered to opposing counsel as 1 through 9 to the board for consideration.
Objection to foundation of the pictures.
What's the objection?
What's the objection?
Foundation, the foundation.
All right, Rich Castro, I'd like to call for my second witness, Rich Castro. Rich Castro, could you please state your full name?
Richard Castro.
And where do you work, sir?
I work for the City of Hammond Inspections Department, Code Enforcement Inspector.
Is this property 1723 Summer in your district?
Yes, it is.
And in the course of your duties as an inspector, did you take the photographs that I have previously marked and tendered to the board?
Yes, I did.
And at the time you took the photographs, did they truly and accurately depict the condition of the property at the dates shown in the corner of the photograph?
Yes, they do.
Did you in any way alter or change these photographs?
No.
I once again will offer photographs, or I will once again offer the exhibits 1 through 9.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you, sir, take the photos depicted in Exhibit 4?
Which one is it? I'm not sure which exhibit 4 is.
That's why I'm asking.
No, I did cannot take these.
Excuse me. Can you speak into the microphone as you respond? Thank you.
No, Exhibit 4 was taken prior to me working for the inspection department.
Kelly Kearney previously testified during his testimony that he took that photograph. So I'm not sure if you want me to ask him again, but he previously said he took the photograph.
So is it your testimony that you have taken all other photographs except for Exhibit 4?
I don't know if it was all of them. She showed me some of the ones
Can you please review and tell us which ones that you actually took?
Which one is? Numbers, yeah.
Oh, you don't know the numbers? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, would you just go by the date then?
Okay.
Those
Yes, these are the pictures that I took in March of 17. Those were taken by myself. Also the ones in November of 17 and the ones taken this morning.
So,
Is that
Attorney
Kelly
Cantar, that would be C. Which ones would those be? What exhibits would those be?
I'm sorry, they're up there by you. I can grab them if you'd like.
Yeah. We can't look at them yet.
They're there. I apologize. They're there. This will make it easier, just to make a better record.
There we go.
All right, so Exhibit 4, you said was, Kelly Kearney's already said that he took those.
Correct.
Exhibit 5, which are the photographs from 3/2/17, and you said you took those personally?
Correct.
All right, and we have Exhibit 6, which was taken November the 6th, 2017. You took those?
Yes.
And Exhibit 8, which was taken on 12/21/17, which is today at 9:07 a.m. Well, it's probably 8:07.
Correct.
You took those?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any objections? No. Those will be admitted into evidence.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure if opposing counsel wants to ask questions of Kelly Kearney. I only took Rich Castro out of order to authenticate the photographs. But in the normal course, she would get you cross-examine Kelly Kearney or Rich Castro, or both.
Yes, I would like to. Mr. Cruz, is it?
Kearney, Kearney, Kearney.
Mr. Kearney, were you employed here back in 2011 when you testified regarding some things that happened back then? Were you employed with the city at that time?
I was
Okay, what capacity?
Code Enforcement Commissioner.
Okay, and you have personal knowledge that there was a demolition order, an actual order entered?
Yes,
And was that order not vacated?
it expired.
It expired.
Correct.
It wasn't vacated, but expired?
Correct.
Okay, and you testified that you determined that Andrew Young was the owner of the premises at 1723 Summer Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is it not HRP LLC who is the owner of that premises?
Yes.
Okay, so the statement that Andrew Young owns it would be incorrect?
He's listed as an agent of HRP.
Okay, that would make him the owner then?
It would make him a agent of HRP, who is the owner.
Okay, that would make him an agent of the owner, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you stated that the premises had no running water for 13 years. Does that date back beyond when HRP LLC became the owner of the premises?
As far as our records indicate, there's never been any running water there. That would be the water department to determine.
Okay. Are there fire hydrants within the vicinity of this property?
There are.
Okay. So to say that there's no running water would insinuate there's a fire hazard wherein actually there isn't, because there are fire hydrants.
fact there's a fire hydrant there does not eliminate the fire hazard. Would certainly assist the fire department in fighting the fire, but the building itself as it is accessible to people that will find refuge there, often starting fires to keep themselves warm.
So that after the third-party intervenor who trespasses upon the property makes the property itself a hazard?
The condition of the property allowing access to whoever does make that a fire hazard.
Okay, so if a residence were vacant for the purposes of putting it on the market for sale and was unsold for a period of 3 to 4 or longer years, would that make the property a fire hazard simply because the water was shut off during the transition between owners?
Would that building have broken windows, open doors, and access? Because if it was, we'd board it up.
I would request a response to the actual question asked.
If the building is secure, it is less of a fire hazard.
Okay, so the fact that there's no water really is neither here nor there in determining whether there is a fire hazard upon premises, correct?
I'm not sure where you're going with that. Running water does not eliminate the fire hazard.
Thank you. Okay, you stated that the property required more city services because, again, there are third-party trespassers entering upon the property. Is that your testimony?
Requires more services from lack of care, lack of maintenance, board ups, so not just the access for people, but vermin, raccoons, and such. So it's unsecure. It's never been mowed, weed whacked, cleaned, maintained. That's what we're talking about, city services.
I would like to hand you the Exhibits 1 through 9, some of which consist of pictures of the property. Could you please point to a picture among any of those exhibits that demonstrates unrestrained access that this owner has not boarded up or...
This window right here.
Okay, would you please state
Exhibit
which
4.
exhibit?
In the center of the photo,
I'm sorry, are you referencing the exhibits that have been entered? The city's exhibits? Are you referencing the city's exhibits that have been entered? Okay, thank you.
I need to approach so I can see this piece, if you don't mind. Okay, so you're pointing to a hole in a window on a second floor,
yes,
and that's from Exhibit 4, page 1.
yes.
Okay.
Let's see. All I have here is Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 1. Is there other pictures in here? Right. Right there. The boarded up windows are also obviously boarded up to try to prevent people from getting in, but it's easy access. If someone wanted to get in, they could pull those boards off. So they wouldn't be boarded up if windows were intact. That is Exhibit 6. Boarded up windows.
Okay, so Exhibit 6 has boarded up windows, which is what property owners typically do to keep people out, correct?
That was not done by the property owner, though. That was board up, that was done by, city.
Do you have personal knowledge of this?
Yes. In fact, I believe I'm the one that called it in.
Okay, any other pictures?
I'm going through them here. I believe there's a photo of the rear that shows some access. I'm trying to find that shot. That's the one I got right now. If you look in Exhibit 8, the second to last page, you'll see that there is still access.
Okay, Exhibit 8, page what?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and also 6. If this doesn't explain it, Exhibit 6 is full of pictures of access.
Okay, can you be more specific for the record, please? Exactly what access you're referring to?
The open windows, the open passageway, was that a doorway? Looked like there was a vent, heating duct or something coming out of that. There's a doorway to the left of that picture on, I think it was page 6, that is obviously easy access. This is the vent I'm talking about. The window above on the second floor is wide open, busted out. That door is access to the building.
Okay.
You need to take them all, please. It's getting in my way. There you
Now you know how we feel.
go. I can imagine.
And you stated it, the property was also an environmental hazard to neighbors, in what sense?
The building is wide open to the environment. People can get in, access, and there's vermin, animals. It's environmentally unsafe, simply as the way it sits.
Okay, do you have a record of instances where wild animals had to be removed from the premises or
We would,
some type of problem requiring intervention by the city?
with numerous police calls, that if you went to the police department, got the reports, I'm sure they would have numerous calls of not only, I don't know of any vermin, but of people having to be removed. The police department, animal control does not handle wildlife. So if they were in there, they were in there.
Okay, so that would actually constitute hearsay, wouldn't it? If you have no personal knowledge of that, I would.
I have-
She asked him a question, he gave the answer. She doesn't like the answer. He says there's been numerous police calls. This is from his dealings as the city inspector.
I have had personal contact with the police department there to remove people. I have been on scene with PD.
Okay, on what occasions do you have times?
I don't have times and dates now.
Okay, so now you're saying that you do have personal knowledge, you have been there. Could you describe what those occasions?
I was called to the scene by the police department after they had removed people that were staying in the property, to come assess the situation and board it up.
Okay. Approximate date, a year maybe?
I'm not even going to try to guess at this point. It's been several times, not just on this building, on other buildings on the property. I don't recollect time or date.
So you were there and you witnessed what?
I was called by the police department, met police officers there. They had removed people from the building. I assessed it to be boarded up.
Okay. Did you witness the people and the removal of them?
Not firsthand. I've seen people in the squad.
I don't just strike anything regarding vagrants and
she asked the question, he provided the answer. How can she object to her own question?
Because it's replete with hearsay.
She asked the question, he provided the answer, showing personal experience, having personally witnessed this. There's no basis to strike anything. She didn't like the answer, she shouldn't have asked the question.
I'm sure the board will get it the way that it should be recorded.
Zone program.
As the building commissioner, you're probably quite familiar with the zoning in the city of Hammond.
I am not the building commissioner. I am the chief of inspections department. The building commissioner is a separate title. I am somewhat familiar with zoning, but we do have a zoning administrator that is primarily his job.
Okay. Are you familiar with the GIS system or the city of Hammond's own zoning maps?
I am familiar with that, yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you something I've marked Exhibit A. Now, does that look familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay. That's a printout from the GIS system of the property located at 1723 Summer Street, correct?
It's a portion of it. There's several lots there. It's identified as, on the GIS as 1723 Summer, yes.
Okay, is there not one that is shaded out that says 1723 and 1727?
Yes.
So that encompasses 1723, that shaded area, correct?
I don't believe so, no. If you look in the lower right hand of that shaded area, it says 1723. I believe the building that is in question is not 1727, but 1723, and is south of that shaded photo.
Okay, on site information from the GIS system, it does list 1723 Summer Street, correct?
It does?
Okay, and below that, it says property class, light manufacturing and assembly. What does that mean to you?
The way it's zoned,
Okay, so it's zoned industrial, correct?
light industrial.
Okay. And on Exhibit A, the owner of that parcel, 1723 Summer Street, is listed as HRP LLC, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm going to give you something listed, Exhibit B. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay, that's a printout of property located right next to 1723 Summer Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that is listed as 1717 Summer Street, correct?
It's identified as that, correct?
Okay, and the owner is listed as HRP2 LLC, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that property is also zoned light manufacturing and assembly or industrial, correct?
Correct. Say again, please.
Okay, there's a building right on the edge of both properties. In fact, it sits on both properties, correct?
Correct.
So in the lower right where it says 1723, that building is 1723 North Summer Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that building sits upon 17 Summer Street and 1723 Summer Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the building being complained of here, isn't it?
No, 1723 is the building being complained of. The portion you're asking about is in addition to 1723.
I'm sorry.
Kelly, I'm gonna have to ask that you do it by the microphone so we can get a recording. Thank you. If you'd like to approach, you can.
The shaded portion is the addition of 1723. So the original building, and then there's an addition. That's the part that's shaded in. 1723 is the building in question, the one that has a demo order on it.
Okay, so is it your testimony that you want to demolish half of the building shown in, I'm sorry, let's see what exhibit that is? Which exhibit?
These are, this is today's 9, I think it was. These are today's photos.
So you want to demolish half of the building on Exhibit 8, page 1, at the bottom, but not the other half?
Yes,
Okay. Which half is it you're seeking to demolish?
the southeast half,
To the right or to the left in the photo?
to the right.
Okay. And do you believe that that can be done without disturbing the addition to that building as you referred to it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you notify 17 Summer Street's owner that you intended to do this?
No, there's no demo order on 1717. No current. I believe. He owns it. Yeah.
If I can ask a quick question.
Of course.
So this building is sitting on 2 lot lines? Is that what this discussion is about here?
That's correct.
Okay, just for my clarification, just want to make sure I understand it.
Now, the original citations that were issued here, are you familiar with them? Have you seen copies?
The ordinance violations, the weeds and such?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is that a copy of them?
It's not a copy that we would send, no.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah, this is,
That's not a
This is
citation,
a-
just for the board, this is the notice to repair or demolish,
Yeah.
citations completely different.
this is not a city ordinance, this is Unsafe Building Act. City ordinance would be a citation in court. This is the order to repair or demolish.
This is the notice to repair or demolish.
Okay, so this is the notice to repair and or demolish?
Correct.
I'm listing that as Exhibit D. the citation is issued pursuant to the Hammond City Code and the Indiana Code, correct?
Correct, but it's under this Unsafe Building Act.
Okay. And you're familiar with the code of Hammond and IC 36-7-9, correct?
I am.
Okay. I'm going to hand you something I've listed Exhibit E. These are portions of the Hammond City Code, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us what the definition of a dwelling is?
Any building which is wholly or partly used or intended to be used for living or sleeping by human occupants, provided that temporary housing as defined in this section shall not be regarded as a dwelling.
Okay. So anything at temporary housing intended for living, sleeping, and human occupants would be a dwelling.
Say again, please.
Okay. Anything aside from temporary housing intended for use of human occupants to live or sleep is a dwelling, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's the definition of dwelling unit?
Any room or group of rooms located within a dwelling and forming a single habitable unit with facilities which are used or intended to be used for living, sleeping, cooking, and eating.
Okay. On the next page, could you tell us what the definition of habitable room is?
A room or enclosed floor space used or intended to be used for living, sleeping, cooking, or eating purposes, excluding bathrooms, heater closet compartments, laundries, pantries, foyers, or communicating corridors, closets, and storage space.
Okay. So that connotes property intended for residences, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If you go to the first citation listed on the notice of violation, repair or demolition, it's 96.024/96.003. Could you go to 96.003 and read the preamble of that citation?
No person shall occupy as owner, occupant, or let to another for occupancy any dwelling or dwelling unit for the purpose of living therein, which does not comply with the following requirements.
Okay, so the entirety of section 96.003 applies to property or buildings intended for dwelling or dwelling units, correct?
Yes, but may I say, Chapter 96 is minimum housing standards. This is not, if you want to talk about a commercial building, you need to get into the building section of City Ordinance, Chapter 150. These are for minimum housing standards for residences.
Okay, that, I suppose, cuts to the chase then. Anywhere that section 96.003 is cited in this notice of violation applies only to residential units intended for dwelling, correct?
Chapter 96, correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I ask which notice of violation we're referring to? I know that there was one in the past. Is this the current notice of violation or the one that was issued in 2011?
No, this is the notice to repair or demolish that was issued on October 13th.
Of 2017.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that disposes of 96.003 subsection whatever. It's going to refer to residential units. That's what it is. Correct.
Correct, but it also describes the condition, which is a violation of. So it's housing, minimal housing standards, but it also is an indicator of the condition of the property, be it a residential or commercial or rooming house or whatever it may be.
Okay, due process would probably require that you give someone notice that applies to their particular property, wouldn't it?
Okay, well, it's self-explanatory, gutters and,
That was a yes or no question.
ask the question again, please?
If you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know. Due process would require that you give someone notice of a citation that applies to their particular property, wouldn't it?
We did under unsafe building law in chapter 150 that I told you was for the building codes and sides. Impaired structure condition making it unsafe to person or property vacant and not maintained in a manner that would allow human habitation, occupancy, or use.
Okay, so I'm sorry, are you saying that the only reason we're here today is IC code 36-7-9 and then the rest of the citations be nothing?
There's also conditions on the demolition order, the file that's created, weeds, sanitation, litter, those conditions also. Those, so,
I'll try to make this easier.
please.
If we can stipulate to the fact that nothing that applies to residential property should have been cited and dismiss those sites, then we can dispose of a lot of questions.
You want to stick to unsafe building law, it's fine with me. It's all,
So I would move to dismiss the citation under section 96.024/96.003. The next one, 96.024.
Excuse me, Attorney Babcock, are you planning to admit that into that exhibit into evidence
Sure, I mean, I could do
It's not her case.
so that we can?
It's not a case position.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we just don't have any reference in front of us.
What she's indicating, this is not citation. Citations go through the Hammond City Court. This is an action under the Unsafe Building Act, which lists the violations on the property. She is requesting that the violations listed on the property that involve code, title code, Indiana, Hammond Municipal Code 96, be removed from the notice.
And you are stipulating to that.
Sure, because like I said, we're under the Unsafe Building Act, and the definition that controls is 36794. All this does is let a person know what's wrong with their property so that they can come in and say, okay, I understand what's wrong with my property. It does not, however, affect the non-residential, such as weeds, litter, boarded up properties, time limits for boarded up properties, which is all in 150, which is still part of her exhibit. No property can be boarded up for 90 days. That is cited.
Okay.
So I mean,
Go ahead.
basically, we're just picking, we're nitpicking. We're saying, okay, fine, it's been boarded up for more than 90 days, but, you know, it's not a residential property.
Okay, you can.
It's more than nitpicking. When a citation involves the potential of a continuous violation being lodged against you, let's say it's $20 a day or $50 a day.
Once again, this is
For
not
each.
a citation.
Look, I've seen it happen before. It's not a small issue.
It's not a citation. This is a notice of a hearing under the Unsafe Building Act. It is not a citation. Citations are in Hammond City Court. This is an administrative proceeding. If she wants to contest citations written in Hammond City Court, that's fine. Right now, this is just a notice that a hearing is being held on the condition of the property pursuant to the Unsafe Building Act, which has its own statutory definition for an unsafe property. It is not contingent or relying upon Hammond Municipal Codes for residential structures. And I have actually admitted into evidence what the standards are under the Unsafe Building Act.
I would move to dismiss any citations that are listed here, whether they exist or not, they're certainly cited.
Okay, first of all, the board cannot dismiss a citation in the city court, and it certainly cannot dismiss one that doesn't exist or does not exist. This is a notice under the Unsafe Building Act, identifying the issues with the property. It is not a citation in the Hammond City Court, that is down the hall.
Okay, if the city will stipulate that there are no citations under all of the code, I mean, I could read them, but I'd rather not. I'm sure everyone would rather that I not. All of the
does the city stipulate to the,
There are no code, I would stipulate that there are no code violations before this administrative proceedings. I have an entire copy of the unsafe building law if the board would like a copy. The unsafe building law has notice requirements. It describes what an unsafe property is, and then it says what the notice requirements are. The notice requirements are to let a person know what is wrong with their property so that they can either take action on it or attend the hearing and not take action on it.
And it's defendant's contention that holding a commercial property to residential standards is per se not legal. How can a commercial property owner keep a factory up to the standards that a hotel or a apartment complex has to be kept to? It's not intended for people to sleep and eat and live there.
As Kelly Kearney has testified, if you look at the entire notice to repair or demolish, there are plenty of citations to violations which do apply to commercial structures. Everything under 94, which is about weeds, vegetation, rank, whatever they call rank weeds, I don't know, trash, and the entire section of 150, the unsafe building law, 1001 to 071, is addressing commercial properties and unsafe properties as defined by the Unsafe Building Act.
okay, we will, as Attorney Cantor stated, we cannot dismiss any citations. That will be handled in the Hammond City Court. We will ask that Mr. Kearney only reference violations directly related to the Unsafe Building Act or commercial structures and not reference violations related to dwellings
Thank you.
going forward.
Okay, Mr. Kearney, that would leave us with section 94.091 regarding weeds over 6 inches, section 94.035 regarding accumulation of litter, and section 150.001/150.071 regarding structures not maintained in a manner that would allow human habitation, occupancy, or use, correct?
What was that? I'm still trying to find my place here.
If you would look at the last 3 citations, and I use the term loosely, that state weeds, 94.09190, sanitation of litter, 94.035, and unsafe building law, section 150.001, and secretary.
Yes.
Okay, that's what we're left with in this proceeding,
Okay.
correct?
Those situations still exist.
I believe that he's just requested not to refer to residential standards, and all of the rest of them are.
I can say that there's still weeds and litter on the property without quoting a city ordinance. The situation as it has been, has always been unkept.
And that's why I referenced the weeds, litter, and unsafe building law as being all that's remaining now.
I don't understand your point.
I'm hoping that the board is.
She's saying if you take away all of 96, what we are left with was 94 and 150, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
What was that again? Today's
The
pictures? No, the
The
definition.
Unsafe Building Act.
Safe building it?
Okay, I'm going to give you a copy of Plaintiff's Exhibit 9. This is a copy of Indiana's Unsafe Building Code 36-7-9-4, correct?
Correct.
Um, This basically says, unsafe to personal property, a fire hazard, a hazard to public health, a public nuisance, or dangerous to a person or property. Let me ask you, if the only remaining allegations that apply to a commercial property in this matter relate to garbage and high weeds, in what way does that make this property unsafe, a fire hazard, a hazard to public nuisance, or dangerous?
I'm going to object. We did not say that all that's left is garbage and weeds. We also have 150, which specifically addresses vacant properties in the city of Hammond. There's a mischaracterization of what was said.
Sustain the objection. We asked him not to reference any violations in reference to 96, but we did not strike any references to 150, which are included in the report.
Does 1723 Summer Street abut residential property?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
No.
Okay. The Hammond City Code requires that property alleged to be unsafe, in the terms that you have characterized this property, abut residential property, correct?
No. What code are you citing?
The Hammond City Code, section
What?
150.
The ordinance, 150 what? Is the question, or there's residences on Summer Street? It's a mixed-use street. There's no residences, houses abutting next to this property. Is that what you're getting at?
But according to 150.071, which is cited in this proceeding and still remains, the property would have to be abutting residential property to be unsafe in terms of what is alleged here.
150 is someone time restraints for vacated properties? Any structure in a residential area, an area that abuts a residential area, or any area that affects a residential area that is vacated for a period of 90 days shall be subject to the following. Affects a residential area. There is residences on this Summer Street.
Okay, how does this industrial property affect the residential property? Residential property, please?
I don't live on Summer Street, but I drive it often, and quite honestly, it's an eyesore. It has a negative effect on the neighborhood, property values, and quite honestly is a safety concern for people that may have to walk by or drive by that property. It's a nuisance.
Could you be more specific about safety concerns?
I've stated that there's been people that are homeless or otherwise without, that have been in this property. That causes concern for anyone that may be going by, riding bike, motorcycle, car, walking, whatever it may be. It is a safety concern for anyone that is near the property.
Perhaps it would help the board, the Indiana General Assembly in Indiana Code 3679 4.5 specifically states what the dangers are. And perhaps if council wants, I could give a copy to her or I could read it out loud, but it talks exactly about why the Indiana Code declares these to be dangerous.
That's okay, Councilman.
I'll have you read it if you want me to.
Sure.
Let me get there.
No more questions for this witness.
I just have some quick redirect based on the questions asked. I will not stray from the questions asked. She has presented, they have not been admitted because it's not her case, A and B, showing the parcels at 1717 and 1723. Over here to the left, what are all these?
These are all houses.
And over here?
Houses, residential area.
Okay. So there are residences, and not just one or two, there's a large cluster of residences which basically immediately abut the property line
That's correct.
of 1717, which
Correct.
abuts the property line of 1723.
Correct.
Now, this is just to refresh your recollection. I'm not going to put in an evidence, or I could if anybody wants to see it. What am I handing you? Does that refresh your recollection as to a question asked to you by council?
The findings in order for 1723 Summer Street were,
That's the demolition order that was entered in 2011 and recorded as 2011, 055, 209.
that is correct.
How long is a demolition order good for?
2 years.
And what happens after 2 years? What does the city do?
The order is null and void.
And so what do we do? What does the city do once the order has expired?
It's taken off the list. It's
Rescinded?
rescinded.
Okay,
Yes.
Objection, relevance.
you asked him the question if this was vacated. The order that was entered in 2011, this is a direct response to your cross-examination. So the fact that 2011, 055, 209 might have been subsequently vacated, rescinded, set aside, removed, or any other term that you would like to call it, does not indicate the property was ever brought into compliance. It just meant it got old.
Yes.
Now, do you know what happened to cause our order to get old?
The,
Did the property owner do something during that period of time?
did nothing.
No, did he do something to cause a delay for our demolition process?
Objection.
Objection what?
Argumentative.
It's my witness, but I'll rephrase. In 2011, the city of Hammond entered an order to demolish on 1723 Summer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did the city of Hammond demolish 1723 Summer?
No.
Why not?
Case was continued
Because?
for the owner. Is on appeal.
Correct. And that,
It continued again to,
Relevance and
once again, she brought this line of questioning up in cross-examination that the order was rescinded.
who did what, where, and when is hardly an issue here about something dating back to 2011 that didn't happen.
Attorney Babcock, I believe you brought up the line of questioning as to whether or not this if this property was vacated from the demo list. I believe Attorney Cantor is establishing why that happened. So I'm going to allow that line of questioning.
So I'll just, to shorten things, the fact that the demolition order on 1723 Summer in 2011 no longer exists does not in any way convey compliance upon this property. Now, I've handed you the Indiana the Indiana State Statute for Unsafe Buildings, 3679 4.5. You don't have to tell me why a building's unsafe. The General Assembly has told us why a building's unsafe. Would you please read from that?
Section 4.5A, in Indiana, especially in urban areas, there exists a large number of unoccupied structures that are not maintained that constitute a hazard to public health, safety, and welfare.
Stop here. It's Hammond, an urban area.
Yes.
Is this a vacant structure?
Yes.
Is it unmaintained?
Yes.
Okay, keep reading.
B, vacant structures often become dilapidated because the structures are not maintained and repaired by the owners or persons in control of the structures.
Stop here. Is this property is it vacant? Has it been dilapidated? Has it been maintained by the owner?
It has not been maintained, it is vacant, and it is dilapidated.
Okay, so far you're following along with what the General Assembly has already made determination of law. Keep going.
C, vacant structures attract children, become harbors for vermin, serve as temporary abodes for vagrants and criminals, and are likely to be damaged by vandals or set ablaze by arsonists.
Okay, so do we have any of that here?
Yes, we do.
And there, as you pointed out from defendant's exhibits, there are a large cluster of residential areas abutting this property.
That is correct.
Okay, keep going.
D, unkept grounds surrounding vacant structures invite dumping of garbage, trash, and other debris.
Okay, do we have the dumping of trash and other debris?
We do.
Okay, keep going. So far you and the General Assembly are agreeing that it doesn't happen much.
You'd have thought I wrote this. E, many vacant structures are situated on narrow city lots and in close proximity to neighboring structures, thereby increasing the risk of conflagration and spread of insect and rodent infestation.
We have that?
Yes.
Keep going.
F, vacant, deteriorated structures contribute to blight, cause a decrease in property values, and discourage neighbors from making improvements to properties.
Okay, are there any improvements to properties being made around this?
No, there is not.
Okay, keep going.
G, structures that remain boarded up for an extended period of time also exert a blighting influence and contribute to the decline of the neighborhood by decreasing property values, discouraging persons from moving into the neighborhood, and encouraging persons to move out of the neighborhood.
How long has this been boarded up?
For nearly a decade,
And what's our ordinance limit board ups to?
90 days.
Okay, keep going.
H, vacant structures often continue to deteriorate to the point that demolition of the structure is required, thereby decreasing available housing in a community and further contributing to the decline of the neighborhood.
Keep going.
I, the blighting influence of vacant deteriorated structures adversely affect the tax revenues of local government.
Do we know if this property is current on its taxes?
No, it is not.
Okay, keep going.
J, the General Assembly finds that vacant deteriorated structures create a serious and substantial problem in urban areas and are public nuisances.
Okay, so without being tedious here, basically, it's not up for Kelly Kearney to decide
Correct.
what this property is doing to Hammond. It's up to the General Assembly, and they've decided.
That's correct.
And basically, would you say by reading that, they're looking at a picture of this and just basically writing it as they go?
Yeah, yes, it's to the point.
Okay. I have nothing further for read the rest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney.
Is there any recross for Mr. Kearney? No. Do you have any cross-examination for Mr. Castro? No. City Attorney Young? Mr. Young, would you please come up to the podium? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you state your name, please?
Andrew Young,
And what is your residence, not just give me the general, they don't have to give me your exact address.
live in Illinois.
Now, previously, council has shown you this quitclaim deed.
Yes, I've seen this document before.
Okay. Is that your signature on the document?
Looks like it.
And what happened in that document? Did that property convey 1723 Summer to an entity?
Yes, it did.
To which entity?
HRP LLC,
From what entity?
Andy's Truck and Equipment Company.
And what was Andy's truck?
Andy's Truck and Equipment Company is a used parts company.
And what is or was your association with Andy's trucking?
I was and still am president of that company.
So you had some involvement with this property for how long?
Since right around 1999.
Okay, so for 17, 18 years, is that fair? You've had some association through various entities that exist legally under the
Sure,
law of
that's
our
fair. That's a fair statement.
state. Okay. How many permits have you pulled on this property to make repairs in those 18 years?
I haven't pulled any permits to make repairs.
Does this property, 1723, have running water?
Does it need running water? It does not have running.
Okay, does it have electricity?
If you want to talk about electricity, I think the city knows why this whole entire parcel doesn't have electricity.
The question is, does it have electricity?
It does not.
Does it have gas?
It does not. It has gas service to the property. It actually has water service to the property. There's hydrants within the fence line of the properties.
Are those your hydrants or city hydrants?
Well, actually, I believe when they're on the property, they belong to the property owner.
So if there's a fire hydrant in front of my house in a residential area, that's my fire hydrant, I can go
No,
play
that's
in
not
it?
what I said. There's commercial industrial properties that have hydrants within the bounds of the fence which belong to them.
Now, you were showing some photographs, this photographs from either November or the ones from today. Is that what the condition of the property looks like? You can pick any one you like.
Well, probably, it looks somewhat like this. But
Okay,
there's,
well,
I know
well,
there's continuous
Here's today.
maintenance
Here's
of
today.
removing
Here's today.
weeds and
Does
trash
today
around the
look any
back.
different than today? Here,
Well,
first.
I know today's look in the front. This is not today's. These are not today's.
Here, I'm giving you today.
I drove by the front of it, so the ones that represent the front, I would be able to testify look at the same as today. I didn't go around the back today. Didn't have time. But the ones that represent the front are accurate.
And is there an accumulation of debris?
I didn't notice any accumulation of debris or weeds around the front of the building. Not at all. We've been cutting it and picking up litter on a regular basis on that property along the roadway that's observable from passersby.
And the roof, is the roof in good structural repair?
Structural, I would say yes. Does it need another topping of shingles or whatever? Should probably have something done to it, but structurally, I would say it isn't. It's structurally sound.
Okay, and do you have anything to, like a report, engineer's report, or?
No, but do you want to contradict that, other than Mr. Kearney's unprofessional opinion?
And this, is this an opening into the property?
I'm not sure where that is on the property, but it appears that it's a doorway
It appears to be an open door.
within the fence part of the property. So that would have to be on the back side of the property, which is within a fenced yard, fenced and secured area.
Okay, well, we, whether there's a fence or not a fence, have intruders been able to get into the property?
You keep referring to intruders, and would you like to tell the board what year that may have been? And who may have called the...
Sir, I'm going to ask you to, sir, I'm going to ask you to respond to the questions. You are being questioned by Attorney Cantor. You need to respond to her questions.
As you know, this is not a
Sir.
court of law. There is some latitude given.
And we are the board, so we are asking you to respond to her questions. You will have an opportunity to speak when your attorney has the floor.
Well, when's the last time intruders have been in there?
The last time I know was when I called the police. It had to go to, when I discovered some, that was probably 7 years ago.
Well, when's the last time you've been inside the property?
Well, I've been inside the property maybe within the past 30 days.
Okay, and is there any evidence that intruders have been in there?
None at all.
So it is your contention then, basically in short, to boil it down to a nutshell, that 1723 Summer Street is perfectly safe?
From a safety standpoint, I don't believe it represents any safety hazard to the community. The building is structurally sound. It's got it's flexicor floors, flexicor roof. It would take a bomb blast to knock it down. It is not a falling down structure. It is brick and flexicor.
And why did you take the stairs down?
The stairs were, it was one of the complaints, and I didn't think there was any need for the stairs, and I thought that they should be taken down.
And did you pull a permit for that since you felt that you were in the right?
They were stairs that were just nothing more than concrete blocks at that point, and I don't believe that I needed a permit to clean up the property. It was not a building. It didn't require any equipment. It was simply taking some stairs down that were not stairs like that need to be demolished. They were stairs that were a sequence of blocks piled on top of one another.
I don't have anything else. The city would rest its position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it? Are you going to cross-examine?
Mr. Young, have you cleaned up this property at all in terms of garbage and high weeds and vegetation, if any, since the time of your ownership, and if so, how?
yes, on a regular basis, we've cut and cleaned the right-of-way along Summer and Hump, even prior to taking ownership of the entire parcels. We used to do it on behalf of the former owner, just because it was inconvenient for them, being based in Missouri, to do any of that work. Throughout the season, the growing season, we send personnel over to the property to cut all along the Summer Street, as well as down Hump Road, as far as the property extends. We've had dumpster services there. More recently, we've cleaned up all sorts of things that other people had dumped in the past. We took on that responsibility. We got rid of a lot of tires. We got rid of some shingles that had been dumped there. So yeah, it's been, the high weeds, the litter that they're as part of that. I know we can't use the word citation, but they were certainly listed on that, what looked like citations to support the city's contention that the building should be demolished. We're done. I mean, the litter, any high weeds. I mean, as you can see, even the city's own pictures don't depict any litter or high weeds that are viewable from anybody walking, driving, bicycling by the property on either Hump or Summer Street. So.
And have you ever boarded up any open windows or means of entrance to the building that you've noticed as the owner?
Excuse me, can I interrupt for 1 second? Attorney Babcock, you previously had questioned Mr. Kearney as to whether Mr. Young was the owner because he's listed as a registered agent. Because he has had association with this property since, I believe he said 1999. That's a good period of time we're talking about. Just for clarification purposes, are you referencing the time prior to the quitclaim deed, or in more recent years, this current violation when we're saying owner?
It's confusing for me. I'm more of a Chicago person, and we never, ever use the term owner. And I've been doing trials for over 15 years. But here in Indiana, it seems like the word owner and principal.
I just want to be clear that we're talking about the current time period, not the time period prior to the quitclaim deed.
Right.
Okay,
By
thank
owner, I did not mean what I consider owner. I mean principal. As principal of HRP, during HRP's ownership, did you or your crew ever have occasion to board up means of entry, windows, things complained of by Mr. Kern?
Yes, we've boarded up doorways and windows, as well as put plastic over different glass blocks that were, somebody threw rocks through or whatever reason they were broken. In fact, and in this particular building that the city's referring to, we've made numerous attempts to clean it out. I think I should, I'm sure that Ms. Cantor won't forget her maniacal behavior towards the lady who provided the dumpsters that I hired to drop dumpsters there, where she still has the telephone recording where Ms. Cantor was raving. Well, I won't use any other adjectives, but she was raving and ranting on the phone that, oh, don't you know, this is environmental this, environmental that. She's bent on this property because she dropped the ball back in 2011 when the former owners promised this property to the city. They were going to walk away from it and just give it to the city because they were tired of getting berated by the city. And instead, I found out and made a deal with them. And
Sir, again.
He's owned this property since 1999. There are no previous owners. The issue he was talking about was the environmental lead contamination on the property, so I'm really glad he brought up the fact that it's contaminated by lead.
I didn't say it was contaminated.
Mr. Young, again, I'm going to ask you to restrict your answers to the questions that are being proposed to you. I believe your attorney asked you about whether or not you had the opportunity and have gone out there to board up on any occasion.
And I think I answered that question.
Okay, thank you.
Ask him about the lead now, so.
Well, when your turn comes, I guess.
Attorney Babcock, if you'd like to continue, please.
And first of all, I didn't say lead.
Sir,
I don't know how you
sir,
say lead.
I will ask you again to please respond to the questions that I posed to you.
And I'll remind you, it's a public works meeting, not a court of law.
Okay, sir?
Yes.
We are still a board, so we ask that you treat us with respect while
I
you're
will
standing
do that,
before us,
but don't-
while we're listening to your case.
Right.
Can you look at the pictures in Plaintiff's Exhibit 5 and explain anything that you find to be part of their complaint, the city of Hammond?
Well-
How do you explain some of that rubbish there?
Mm. I'm not really seeing a lot of rubbish. I see the stairs. I know they were referenced in the list of problems with the property.
Okay, so what is that on the side of the stairs, to the left of the stairs?
I can't tell exactly, but it looks like a mound of dirt and I think it might be one tire.
Okay. Is there anything else in the pictures to Exhibit 5 that you would like to explain to the board?
In exhibit, which exhibit?
You're looking at Exhibit 5.
Oh, all of them are exhibit 5?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that they show that there's no high weeds, and I'm not sure from what viewpoint this bottom right picture is taken, but that would be within the property, and that I'm sure that. What is this to? Pardon me?
Is there anything or not
Anything?
that you would like to explain to the board? Anything you feel that requires explanation or that you would like to present to the board about those pictures?
Well, they. Again, that they don't show any litter or high weeds.
Anything in Exhibit 6 you would like to explain or present to the board about those pictures and in relation to why we're here today?
Well, Exhibit 6 shows, they're all one exhibit. The first page of Exhibit 6 shows where the stairs were. It also shows that where plexiglass was placed over any broken glass block panes. And it also shows that there's no excess growth of weeds in the other one. And the other one is more of one shows a stop work order, which, would explain why the rest of the bricks weren't cleaned up. We weren't sure how strict they would be on that, but just to play it safe, we don't want to get over there and get arrested for moving a brick or, cleaning up the property. Seemed like it was darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of thing, so.
Are you stating that you have been hindered in your attempts to clean up the property in the past?
Oh, and not just this time, and every possible time we attempt to do anything with the property, we've been hindered by Ms. Cantor and her minions.
Without bringing in any personalities or particular persons, could you be more specific? Give us some examples of hindrances?
Okay, I started to explain how when we were, in fact, cleaning up the subject building from just accumulation of trash that was there prior to me doing it and having anything to do with the property, we got some dumpsters. We had some chutes that we had used to get the building, as many construction crews would do, to clean up. And once that was noticed by somebody from the city, I started talking before that Ms. Cantor contacted the company that had provided the dumpster service to that job site, and she left a message and then followed up. I believe she followed up with a phone call telling that the lady, her name is Rada, that she owns Calumet Recycling, that, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You should, this is all, a big problem. We don't want you to do this, whatever. And, she contended that there were environmental problems here. So not long after that, the city called ITEM, the city called US EPA, and every agency they could think of. I spent weeks and months working with them. We hired an environmental company, several of them actually along the way. I've had 3 different environmental companies participate with me on the property. After she called, dumpster lady, and and then I believe they put some kind of stop work. They made us stop doing it because it was simply Ms. Kantar's subjective contention that there was problems with the building. However, when I toured the building with a scientist from US EPA, he had no such concerns with this building. When I toured it with the guy from ITEM from Indianapolis that came all the way up here several times, he had no such concerns with this building. When I had hired EPI out of South Holland, who's a licensed environmental consulting firm that's licensed to do business in the city of Hammond, they had no such concerns and gave me paperwork to show such. So there was absolutely no reason that we should have been stopped in the first place other than Ms. Kantar thinking so. I believe she's an attorney. I don't believe she possesses any entire environmental credentials, as these other individuals do. Certainly the guy from US EPA, I believe, had a PhD. So I think he trumps what everybody else thinks about this.
So is it your testimony that you have attempted to repair this property and bring it into compliance and make it safe from trespass in the past? Is that your testimony?
Well, what I have attempted to do with this particular building is I have attempted to clean it out and stabilize it. I've met with the city.
On which page? Can you give us time frames and numbers, approximate? You don't need to go into detail.
I think that this was back maybe somewhere following 2011, because everything didn't start happening. The city didn't start going crazy on this until it was discovered that, and this was long after the fact, probably late in 11 or early 12, that the people from Missouri had not done what they promised the city, and that is to just walk away from the property. Once they found out that they had in fact changed gears and sold the property, unbeknownst to the city, when the city finally found out about this sale, that's when everything happened. Because this property had been in the same state for some time. So it wasn't a problem, all the time that the other owners had it. It was, didn't become a hot issue until after the sale of these other 6 parcels took place. And again, I believe it was Ms. Kantar's responsibility to consummate that deal with the owners from Missouri, and I believe that she was put under tremendous pressure to produce because she dropped the ball on that deal.
So, how many times since the 2011 notice of demolition have you attempted to clean up the property, and how many times were you hindered in terms of numbers?
First off, I'm not sure that there was ever a demolition order entered in 2011. My records don't reflect that. And if it was vacated, it's as if it never happened. So I don't think that the city should get the opportunity to say that it ever happened. If it happened, yeah.
Okay, same questions. Since 2011, no demolition order. How many times have you attempted to clean up the property and been hindered by the city of Hammond in particular?
Well, it's in terms of trying to clean this place up, I think that would be sometime in probably 2012 and maybe even extending into 2013. We've cleaned up the property on numerous occasions. I mean, we cleaned it up in different buildings. We've done lots of cleanup work in advance of demolition of certain structures that we've already told the city we would do. And I think Mr. Dostotny up on the board here, he was in a meeting where we described, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Dostotny, but I brought a GIS photo of the entire parcel conglomeration, and I explained which parcels, which buildings we had intentions of demolishing. We put big red X's on them. We presented to the city. I also told them it was my intention on this particular building just to clean it out and stabilize it, because I feel, and I still do feel, that this particular structure could be made very attractive and could be an amenity to the property. I'm not sure who might be the ultimate user of this property, but just try and squint a little bit and picture this building with a new standing seam roof on it and some different type of window treatments, and it would be a very attractive with an historic architecture component building. So there's no danger of this building collapsing. It is concrete, brick, and Flexicor. The roof that has been, somebody said was structurally unsound, is not structurally unsound. It has shingles missing or tar paper missing, but that's really not an indication of how structurally sound or unsound it is.
Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit 8. Plaintiff's Exhibit 8, is that an accurate depiction of the property currently on the stage?
Yes, it is.
And can you point to any means of ingress or egress for vagrants or wildlife in any of those photos?
Well, when we say wildlife, first of all, vagrants, no. There are people on the property on a daily basis, so there are no vagrants on this property.
When was the last time you were there?
Within the property, within the past 30 days.
And at that time, were all windows and means of entry or exit to the building boarded up and secured?
I'm not sure about the one on the back side. That door may have been open, but that is within a fenced area. This window that is shown in the second picture, where that was opened intentionally by our crews, because that's where we had the yellow chutes to direct the debris into the dumpster that was positioned below that. So that was intentionally removed, and we hope to get back on that project at some point, and so we didn't feel the need to board that up or block it back up when we anticipate that we'll be back on this project.
And what was that project?
That was, the project was just cleaning up materials in this building.
Okay. So that is evidence you did it.
Right, and in this picture, I would like to say the bottom one, I mean, it to me, even with the boarding up or whatever on a couple of the windows, it shows to be very neat, and there's not any vegetation visible in this picture, nor is there any debris visible in this picture. And this is the earliest, this is 6.
I do have some questions. I particularly enjoyed the work of fiction that was inserted into the middle of this. So now, since he has opened the door, I would like to follow up on that line of fiction. How long have you owned 1723 Summer?
1723 Summer. Which parcel of 1723 Summer?
The one that we are here before the board today. 1723 with the stairs, with the tree growing through the stairs. This parcel.
Is that tree still there?
No, because
Sir, again, I'm going to ask you to respond to the questions.
As I've testified before, I believe since 1999 approximately.
Okay, so these mysterious people from Missouri that I'm hearing for the first time, when did they own this property?
They owned the other half of the building.
So there's nothing about 1723 Summer that has anything to do with people from Missouri.
The other half of the building, it's one building, okay? There's no walls in between the building. When we were cleaning the building...
1723 Summer has never been owned by anybody from Missouri, is that correct?
That's correct. I was talking about the other parcels, like I said.
This is before the board today.
Well, I was telling a story, okay?
Yes.
A true story. No, it was a true story.
It's quite a story.
I'm sure you got a kick out of it.
Yeah, especially the part What was the previous use of the building that you're talking about, since it's all one building? Wasn't this made for lead paint?
Yes, it was owned by Glidden, it was owned by SCM.
Where they made lead paint, is that correct?
They made pigments for paint.
They made lead pigments from paint, and there was some concern that those lead pigments from paint have contaminated the structure. You're aware of that, is that correct?
Which structure do you refer to?
You said it's one building.
Oh, you're saying that they made lead paint in 1723?
No, they made lead paint in the structure you say is one building. Is that
No, I did
correct?
not say that at all. This is a building, this was an office building. This was 1723, as well as the other half of as well as the other half of the building in question today was an office building.
Now, you said that the US EPA gave you the green flag. Do you have a copy of that green flag?
And what he did was he came out, inspected
I asked you,
everything.
you have a question. Do you have a document? You said you have a document. You worked with them for weeks, you said.
That's
For
right, I
weeks
did.
you worked with
You're
them.
right.
Where's the documentation to show that they say no lead in this property?
I have the report from EPI.
Do you have it with you?
No, I don't.
Where is your documentation that shows that Indiana Department of Environmental Management said that there is no lead at this site?
He came out at somebody from the city's request. He walked around, found no violations, he issued me no violations, and told me to my face that he didn't see a problem.
But you have nothing in writing to support.
There was nothing in writing to say otherwise. If he found a problem, wouldn't it stand to reason that an enforcement officer from item would cite me?
I don't work for you.
Well, that's what I would think.
So you have no documentation, but you said you worked with them for weeks. So no pieces of paper were generated during these weeks of investigation.
They were looking for things to find things wrong. If they didn't find anything wrong, there was no documentation required for them to write up.
Did they do a phase 1 assessment of the property?
I've had phase 1s done.
Did you have phase 2 done?
I think we had phase 3s done.
Okay. And the fact that this was a lead paint pigment site, all of it's been cleaned up by you.
The reports are all inconclusive.
Has anybody from the city of Hammond ever failed to issue a permit to make repairs on this property?
They failed to, well, they actually issued a permit for electrical, and then they rescinded it once they discovered that somebody apparently didn't realize what property it was when they issued the permit. And when we had it, licensed electricians licensed within the city.
Do you have a copy of that permit?
I don't have it
Because I
with
asked
me.
you earlier, you said you've never pulled a permit on the property, on 1723.
I was a tenant. I didn't pull it personally.
Okay, well, HRP LLC pulled a permit on 1723 summer in 18 years.
It wasn't on property. It wasn't on this particular building.
So you have never pulled a permit for 1723 Summer Street?
I've never attempted to do any rehab work there. All I did was clean it up. Attempted to clean it up, which I don't need a permit for.
Correct, you don't need a permit to clean it up, but in the 18 years you've owned it, you've never pulled a permit to change out a toilet?
The building is not occupied.
But somehow the city of Hammond has hampered your efforts to repair this property.
I never claimed I wanted to repair it. I wanted to clean it and stabilize it, which I believe I've tried to do.
So you're telling the board you have absolutely zero plans to repair this property?
I'm hoping somebody comes along and wants to buy the property, and I think that building could certainly be an amenity if somebody else wanted to fix it up. I mean, I don't really know I don't know the next buyer or the next user, so.
Was it listed for sale?
Well, it was listed for sale by Commercial Advantage, except,
Can you give me the dates for that, please?
I'd say at least back around 2012 to probably maybe 2015. It was Commercial Advantage received a call from, well, I'm going to tell the whole answer. Well, Phil Talon contacted the realtor and told them that if they continue to list the property, they would never get any listings from the city of Hammond again.
And do you have any documentation to support this, or is this another one?
No, but if we can suspend this, we'll get them in to testify. My real estate agent would be more than happy to verify that account.
And I'm sure the EPA will come in and say that despite the fact that there's a lead paint facility, there's absolutely zero lead anywhere in the property.
That's a different question. I mean, you're trying to say that.
I don't believe there's cross-contamination, Mr. Young.
Any redirect, Attorney Babcock?
You say yes or no? Yeah.
Thank you.
Does the board request closing, or do you just want to stand on the other? Entirely up to the board. I'm sorry, I thought that was your case. I
No,
apologize.
no, I think she did it on cross. Go ahead, attorney. You know what, can we're gonna take a 5-minute break, if that's okay. The board would request a break, if that's fine. Well, let's do a 11:15. 10-minute break.
Okay, we're all set. We're going to reconvene the meeting after a 10-minute recess.
Okay. Attorney Babcock, I believe it's you.
Mr. Young, you've already stated your name and that you're the principal of HRP LLC. Do you have any relationship to HRP2 LLC?
I'm the registered agent for that LLC as well.
Okay, and does HRP2 own the property adjacent to 1723 Summer Street?
Yes, it is the owner of the other half of the building we're discussing here today.
Okay, and would that be at 1717 Summer Street?
Yes, that's the legal address of the other half of the building.
Okay, does Exhibit A look familiar to you?
Yes, I'm familiar with this exhibit.
What is that?
It's from the county's GIS website. It's showing one of the parcels that comprise the property there.
Okay, which address is that?
This is 1723 Summer Street.
Do you recognize Exhibit B?
Oh, yes, I'm also familiar with this exhibit.
What is it?
This is another GIS photograph from the county's website depicting within the shaded area 1717 Summer Street.
Okay, and who owns the property in Exhibit A?
HRP LLC.
Who owns the property in Exhibit B?
HRP 2 LLC. By the way, just for everybody's, I don't think anybody's ever asked me this. I'm surprised what HRP stands for. Is anybody curious?
If you'd like to ask them, counsel, you can.
What does HRP stand for?
Hammond Remediation Project. Not Hammond Republican Party, in case anybody was confused about that.
Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit C. What does that depict, if you know?
This is a close-up of the 1717, where it shows that approximately half of the building, which we've been discussing today, is owned or within the bounds of 1717 Summer Street, parcel number, 151003.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move these into evidence so that the board can take a look at them.
Attorney,
A and B, right?
A, B, and C?
Attorney, can I just ask you very quickly, previously when Mr. Kearney was giving testimony, I believe that it was stated that they were the Hammond's GIS maps, and Mr. Young has said that these are Lake County's. Are we looking at the same photos?
No. No,
I know,
think the other-
we have we've got our own as well, so I just want to make sure we're talking about the same,
Yes.
and they are Lake County.
I think the other ones were ones off of Hammond's website per se, the ones that showed the zoning.
Yes. Thank you.
Did you have an opportunity to review all of the photos submitted by plaintiff in this matter?
Yes, I looked at all the photos that were presented today.
Okay. Looking at Exhibit C, can you tell us whether all of the violations complained of, as referenced and supposedly proven by the photos, represented by the photos, are on HRP property, meaning 1723 Summer Street?
Well, the pictures I saw showed the whole building, and several occasions I believe Mr. Kearney testified to different problems with the entire building. And as I already said, that half of that building is on a different property by a different owner.
Okay, and I suppose you have been upon the premises and entered the building, inspected the property, including the building, a number of times, correct?
That's true.
Are you familiar with the building to the extent you could testify about whether they're complaining of one half or the other?
You know, it seems that they've, it's not very clear because it's in some photographs that they're presenting as evidence, they're showing the entire building. In other photographs, they're showing maybe just this half of the building. And in yet other photographs, they are showing, you know, they're focused on the other part. So, I mean, the photographs are clearly confusing because they're taken of the entire structure.
Is the structure separable? And by that I mean, could you take one part of the structure, like a garage that's just stuck up against a house? Let's say a house is built and you take a garage and you just build it up against the side of that house.
All right, I'm going to object. I don't have any foundation that he's an expert engineer, like our engineer who's sitting on board, or that he does demolition, or anything that would qualify him as an expert to make a decision.
I believe I can testify that I can walk down a hallway the entire length of the building on the upper and lower floors. So I don't know that I need to be an expert to inform the board that this is in effect one building. Again, there's no division. There's not even a doorway dividing the two halves of the building down the main hallways of the upper and lower floors. So I don't believe anybody would need any type of engineering degree. Any one of us in this room would come to that same conclusion.
So you could walk into the building on the HRP end and go straight to the other HRP2 end unobstructed?
Or vice versa, I see, yes. Yes.
So if half of this building that is HRP LLC's were to be demolished, what would be the result to the other half of the building?
Well, there will be several results. Number one, notwithstanding the effect it's going to have on the other half of the building, this building being at the property line is in effect a barrier. So immediately, if this building were, any portion of this building were removed, you'd have to build a fence to replace it because this building is serving as from the street side, an impenetrable barrier to the property. From the building standpoint of HRP2 LLC, if you were just to imagine being able to take a gigantic saw and cut the building in half, well, then you'd be left with a wide open building. And, you know, it seems to me to contradict what the city's stated their wanted is to make it closed. So then immediately it would create a problem where HRP2 would have to build a wall or take some other action to close the building up that's now been laid bare by the removal of the other half.
Are you the registered agent of HRP2 LLC?
I am.
And did HRP2 LLC receive notice of these violations?
It did not receive any notice.
And is it true that HRP2 LLC is currently in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy?
That is true.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as Exhibit F. Is that the official notice of filing of the HRP2 LLC bankruptcy?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Morgan, I'm going to object. This is on 1717 Summer. It's not on 1723. HRP2 LLC lost 1717 Summer on tax sale, which is the reason for the bankruptcy. It has nothing to do with this unsafe building hearing. It has nothing to do with the Unsafe Building Act proceedings on 1723.
I submit that it goes to the issue of proper notice, not just to HRP2, but of the bankruptcy trustee, notice of these proceedings.
Ma'am, we're not here about 1717. We're here about 1723. So we can't take any kind of action as to whether or not proper notice was issued on a different building during this discussion.
My question is a different party. HRP2 LLC is not HRP LLC.
It is clearly affected by
Sir,
anything that might happen.
Sir, we're not speaking to you at this point. We're speaking with the attorneys. I believe you're paying your hard-earned money to your attorney to represent you today. I suggest you let her do so. I think we're here on 1723, so we're not here on an issue as to whether or not 1717 has been ordered demolished, whether there's been anything against them to discuss why their notice would be important on this issue.
Additionally, as Mr. Young will recall from the last time he filed bankruptcy over a demolition order in cause number 13-21357 in front of Judge Klingerberger, filing bankruptcy does not affect an Unsafe Building Act order. As he found out, the case was dismissed. That was HRP2 LLC, and that was the previous action against 1717 Summer. So he's gone down this path before. We've already had a ruling that the Unsafe Building Act is not affected by bankruptcy because this is a police power. This is the last time that we ordered a demolition order on Mr. Young's property.
And I submit it goes to the issue of proper notice. And I believe that we have proved that that building is not severable from HRP2 LLC.
And I would only
I-
respond that there's no proof. It's Mr. Young's opinion. He's not qualified to make that. There's no engineering report. There's no expert. We've demolished lots of common wall buildings. That doesn't stop us.
I don't believe that we can make any kind of decision regarding notice on a property that's not before us today.
Okay, well, I submit to enter into evidence defendant's exhibit D and F
D?
I don't know.
I thought D was a repair demolish.
And in fact,
Exhibit.
I do have the previous order from Judge Klingerberger. Remember Umberto Tudor was your attorney, where he basically found it. There was a distinction between the two owners and the two properties, and the court had no jurisdiction over the property that's like a bankruptcy filing. It was 1723.
That's an agreed order, not a finding by a judge.
Okay, well, it was signed by Judge Klingerberger on 21st of August, 2013, on the previous go-around.
An agreed order regarding an unlimited case, I submit would not be relevant at all.
I'm just saying exactly what you're saying. 1717 summer, front and rear, and 1723 are not owned by the same entity, and they were not part of the bankruptcy previously. You're trying to make the exact opposite argument that this order says, that they're
I
the
don't think
same
so.
people, and so we should
Yeah,
all.
that's-
treat them the
What
same.
is Exhibit D?
Exhibit D is the notice of violation letter. Exhibit E is an excerpt from the Hammond City Code. Exhibit F is a notice of bankruptcy filing for HRP2 LLC.
I think we
We
could
don't
take
have
in
that.
maybe D and E, but
Right,
F
we don't
is
have that.
not related to this matter before us. The bankruptcy is for 1717 summer, correct?
Right,
For HRP2, correct?
yes.
Neither of which are before us today. So we can take in D and E.
There has been testimony that HRP2 has a vast interest in that building and any demolition that might take place.
Do you object to it being omitted? I don't
Yes,
see how it's relevant today.
Like I said, you lost that property on tax sale, which is why it's not part of this notice to repair or demolish.
Lost?
Currently
Okay.
up in bankruptcy.
Again, Attorney Babcock, we stated we are not going to issue a ruling on proper notice to 1717 Summer or HRP2 in this matter. Are you putting that into evidence for any other purpose other than to establish that proper notice was not given?
Also that a bankrupt estate will be affected regardless of notice.
I don't see how it's relevant.
It's clearly relevant. I mean, how can it not be relevant? It
It's not
diminishes the
before us
value or
today.
creates-
That party is not before us. That property is not before us.
Okay, well, I think the trustee, and I'm quite certain, the bankruptcy trustee would take issue to the fact that the board is not concerned that the HRP2 estate might be affected. I mean, you can rule the way you want to rule, but I believe the trustee is of the opinion that she should have had some kind of say, some kind of notice, something about
About a property that she does not own and is not being called before the board to
Was
discuss.
the city of Hammond listed in the filing of the new HRP2 LLC as a person, a debtor, an interested party, a person to receive notice?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that? Do you have a show showing the city of Hammond, Board of Public Works and Safety, in your 1717 summer new bankruptcy filing listed the city of Hammond? As a party to
It's a
receive-
matter of record. I mean, I think your co-counsel would know that he has received that, so whether he shared that with you, it's beyond my control.
Well, I mean, how, if the city of Hammond's not listed in that bankruptcy,
They are listed in the bankruptcy.
can you show me? Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have that with me.
Well, I believe the notice was issued in October of this year, and the bankruptcy was filed prior to September, so I'm not certain that anyone was aware of this at that time. But I do know that the city of Hammond appeared and filed contentious motion in the HRP bankruptcy, so they were well aware and had actual notice of the bankruptcy.
Okay, let's see. You were served on October 23rd with the notice to repair or demolish. I've got a certified card here. Again, this action is against 1723 Summer. We have no expert testimony or any other trustee other than Mr. Andy Young's opinion. So again, it's not listed in the bankruptcy as a debtor or party to be notified. So obviously, if this was such a concern, that would have occurred.
bankruptcy was filed in June of 2017. Notice was sent to me as just shown in October of 2017, and the city was already party in some fashion or another to the bankruptcy.
Right, and HRP2 LLC on 1717 Summer. Again, not the same party, not the same property. If there was some action against Andy's towing, does that mean we can't tie down 1723 Summer? Because he's involved? If there's some action against the property in Gary that he owns, does that mean we can't go forward on 1723?
Well, I just recently determined that this property involved HRP2 by investigation in preparation of this hearing. I have the knowledge that they were actually trying to attach something that partly belonged to one party, partly belonged to another. It took some inquiry on my part.
I just don't see how a bankruptcy notice for a property that's not before us is relevant. I'd like to remind everybody that we're here on an order to repair or demolish. No demolition has happened yet. That order has not been entered. We have not even established the fact of whether or not Mr. Young or HRP is going to make the necessary repairs to bring it up into code and compliance. If and when there would be a demolition order entered and bid out that may affect a party that is either abutting that structure or in close proximity to that structure that could be endangered by any kind of safety hazard of the demolition, that may be an issue before the board as to whether that party requires notice. But is this structure here, we're looking at 1723. So I'm not certain how a bankruptcy filing for 1717 has any relevance to whether or not this building is unsafe according to the unsafe building law. That is what this board is here to determine, whether or not it's unsafe. And from there, whether it needs to be repaired or demolished.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
In that one manner or another, you dispose of most of those, well, I'm going to call them citations for lack of a better word, and they were down to the very last thing about unsafe building. Does the board have a laundry list of things that they would require to stave off any potential demolition order?
Again, the order itself is an order to repair or demolish.
Okay.
I'm answering your question, sir. If the property owner wishes to enter into a rehabilitation agreement, they then make that request of the city. It comes before this board again to whether or not we're going to accept that, and they will give you a detail of all of the things that are required to bring this structure up to code, to make it a safe structure under the unsafe building law.
Okay, and strictly talking about safety.
Zach, that we were in the middle of a hearing. This is not a question and answer session. He was present while we approved 2 rehab agreements, 505 Highland Street and 1524 Summer Street.
Actually, I wasn't present.
That is the process. This has been before this board apparently multiple times over several years, and it doesn't appear that any attempt has been made to enter into a rehab agreement.
Well,
You have testified today that you have no interest in repairing the structure.
I said I would.
You said you'd like to
prefer
clean up
stabilize
and
Clean it
secure.
up, and that's exactly what I believe.
But you said
is
you
that-
do not. You said you didn't pull any permits because you don't feel that you are going to do any repairs. Is that correct?
I said I was, what I've done so far and attempted to do is to finish cleaning it up and stabilize. And I don't know that requires any permits.
Okay.
You know, I've attempted on
I think
numerous
we've
occasions to have meetings with the city.
Sir, okay, we've heard that. We're going to go back to the hearing now. I don't believe that the bankruptcy filing is necessary in this case. It is not a party before us. It is not a property before us. Attorney Babcock, you can admit D and E.
I would like to make an offer of proof for the record. As an officer of the court, I feel it's my duty to inform anyone in litigation against a debtor entity in a bankruptcy that the bankruptcy is pending. And to protect my own interests as an officer of the court, I just want to make a record of the fact that I've informed all parties here that HRP2 LLC has filed a Chapter 11
he's not an expert, he's hypothetically saying what might happen at some point in the future.
I'd
Well,
sustain the objection.
I mean, it's my understanding that if this board issues a demolition order today, that it's not very far in the offing that something would take place. Am I right in that assumption?
Once again, we are not here for question and answer, sir.
Well-
We received this is an unsafe structure at 1723 owned by HRP LLC.
Okay, what's the question?
Whether the complaints allegedly appearing in any of plaintiff's exhibits exist upon a structure not owned by 1723 Summer Street.
Well, I would have to assume that because of their Exhibit 4 shows the entire structure, and I'm assuming they took pictures of it for the weeds or whatever else. I can't read their mind, but I mean, you'd think that if it was specific to just a 1723, that it wouldn't have any image of the 1717 half of the same building.
Could you point to each exhibit picture by exhibit number and page number that depict property owned by HRP2 LLC?
Exhibit 4, well, these are all one exhibit, but the first one, the second one, first and the second one.
On exhibit number 1?
Is this 1 or a 4?
4.
The first one, clearly, and the second one, a portion.
Okay, those are all pictures, please.
That's just these 4? That's just 2 out of 4. I do recall a picture, though, that had a big opening, which was clearly only on 1717.
The rest of the exhibits?
Oh, wait, let me see, I see. Yep. A lot of these there's no way to tell because they're too close, I believe. I believe this one, which would be they're not numbered all through, so 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one,
What exhibit, sir?
or the fifth one, I believe.
What exhibit are you in, sir?
6. Now I'm on exhibit 8. That depicts, both pictures there depict 1717 as well as 1723, which incidentally don't appear to show any violations that I can see as far as weeds or debris. And then on the next one, the top picture is 1717 only. The other ones is hard to tell with enough, they're too close up. I believe the last page, I believe, are on 1717. That one too.
On this date, is it your testimony that the building is sufficiently free from people and wildlife entering at will and causing nuisance?
I'm certain there's no vagrants occupying the structure. I don't believe there's any trespassers that have any easy access to the property. You know, wildlife, I mean, I get occasional mouse in my house, so I don't know, you know, what type of wildlife we're specifically referring to.
And is all of the premises free of rubbish?
As shown in those pictures, I don't see any rubbish along those photos, nor do I see any high weeds still existing. I don't know, Mr. Castor seems to have left, but he would be able to testify here that he had some issues with some different debris on other portions of the property, which I worked along with him. I hired crews and dumpsters to pick up any number of items that were dumped by others at some point in the past. You know, we attempted to keep the place maintained to some standard that hopefully wouldn't be objectionable to others. I believe we've done that.
And have you removed all high weeds and vegetation over 6 inches?
We did that on a regular basis, even before getting this notice. You know, years all along the way. I mean, I think that just the city's pictures, where they may at time or two have shown some weeds or vegetation. I mean, I think that if it's only common sense that if it was never maintained, that they would be much higher than this, which is about the highest weed. It just shows one tree of life in coming out of the stairs, but those things grow that much in about a matter of a week. So, but I didn't need the city to breathe down my neck to tell me that we need to keep the properties clean. I mean, you know, the Hump Road, you know, ever since they did the potash project, you know, we've been keeping that cut all along Summer Street, you know, for all the period of years, for a dozen years or more than that, whatever, we've been cutting that. So to city to assert that, you know, there's been no effort on either owner's part to maintain the property is disingenuous.
And on what basis do you maintain that the structure is sound?
Well, I know they don't like to hear it from me because I'm not an engineer, but I am able to identify flexicor. I am able to identify the condition of flexicor. I am able to identify bricks from framework, and I believe that there's nothing that I've seen that shows that there's any structural damage to the property, to the buildings. They're brick and concrete.
Are you aware of any potential purchasers that were interested in the structure as opposed to just the property?
Any purchasers never seem to get very far, because if the realtor ever...
I'm going to object. Once again, we're going far outside the bounds.
She asked me a question. I'm answering a question.
She can object.
This is an unsafe structure. Whether or not what purchasers may or may not think or say or talk to anybody is completely hearsay, irrelevant, and nothing to do with what we're here for.
Well, I was a party to it, so I don't think it's hearsay.
I think it would show that if someone is interested in the improvement upon the property, as opposed to just buying the property and demolishing it.
And we're not here today to decide whether or not it would be more valuable for him to sell it with a structure on it or to sell it as property. We are only here to determine whether the structure as it stands today is unsafe.
I would submit that anyone within their right mind would not buy a structure intending to keep it that way if it were unsafe.
That is not before us today. It is not anything that we need to discuss. So we are here to determine whether this structure is unsafe. That is it. Not whether someone wants to buy it, whether or not it's more valuable with the property or not. We are here to determine whether it's unsafe.
And with that logic, he bought this property in this condition intending not to repair it, so he must obviously be unsound? Is that what the council is arguing?
Let's move
Excuse
on.
me?
Let's move on.
Substantial evidence. The plaintiff didn't introduce any inspection reports to me. I mean, what, they have opinion evidence. Why is circumstantial evidence inadmissible by defendant?
It is not relevant to the decision the board has to make today. It's not relevant whether or not he can sell it with the property or not. All we have to decide is whether or not this building is unsafe to the standards put forth before with Indiana law and determine whether or not a order to rehab or demolish is to be entered today.
Does the city have any engineering report saying it's unsafe?
Sir?
Does the city have any
Sir,
engineering
this is not a question and answer session,
Well,
again.
Maybe you ask that then.
So we are here again today, so let's focus our questions as to whether or not this building is safe as it stands.
I have no further questions.
I have
you.
nothing further. Does the board want closing or no?
Would council care to make a closing statement? If yes, we will listen.
No?
No, I'm sorry, I said no, positions are out.
I can waive closing.
Okay. All right, well, we thank you. We'll take all of this under advisement and we'll issue a ruling soon.
But not before the 28th.
Not before the 28th.
Do we need a motion? Yeah, we should do
Do we
that
need to
as a
make a-
motion.
When is the 28th?
The next regularly scheduled meeting.
Oh, yeah, next week, no.
City Hall's closed Monday.
Okay.
Council, things are closing.
Yes. Okay. We'll make a motion to consider all the evidence that has been presented and the testimony that is presented before us and issue a ruling within 30 days.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is open to the public. Did you have anything? No?
Public?
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.